News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. You thought I was missing in action forever. I'm back. Okay, y'all, this is insanity. I was ensconced in vacation reading and watching. I love when I go to my parents' house for for a visit twice a year or so. I can watch they watch Fox News and Newsmax religiously. They've got a nice TV right in front of their table, like many retirees, right? So I get to watch them like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? So, we could set something up like that at our house too, but we don't. So, nonetheless, it was insane to watch this. And it still is insane. And, so many people think that Joe's going to get pushed out. I had the privilege of being with one of my dear friends. I've told you about a group of friends I had that I'm still very close with to this day, or, very good friends with to this day. Many of them are Jewish liberal Democrats. And we don't talk too much politics. If they bring it up, we'll talk, but it's never negative because we love each other more than anything, which is what we all should be doing. But my friend, who's very smart, very wise, he was the one friend of all of them that stood up my wedding, and I stood up in his. I held the chuppah for his wedding, which is a Jewish wedding, and he thinks that Biden will be out by the end of the week. He said that when we met up on Wednesday. Well, here we are. I don't think it's going to happen. At all, because I've told you he will not get out because it's all about him. Second of all, just so you know, we know today that 8 visits in 8 months, according to Peter Doocy of Fox News, 8 visits in 8 months to the White House from a Parkinson's specialist who was like the top big time Parkinson's specialist at Walter Reed, visiting, and at least one of those times he met directly with the president's physician. But I want to tell you this. What I heard today was a convincing, and what I read today was a convincing article that it probably is not Parkinson's. It is probably age-related dementia. And it's because of some of the symptoms that are being seen. But I'm also hearing other people that are just as bright and brilliant. I'm talking about physicians who are experts in these areas that also say it very well could be Parkinson's because of several of the things they're seeing with memory loss, with the stiffness, with the stiff gait and such. And it's either Parkinson's or age-related dementia, most likely, from what everybody is saying, okay? And the fact of the matter is that he's gone. And we've all known this for years. And what's amazing is to watch the left being eaten alive by itself, particularly the news media having to pretend that they're outraged that they didn't know this man's a vegetable when we all knew. But now, every time he tries to explain himself, it gets worse and worse and worse. Here is a little piece from... This is a little piece from, what's his name, on CNN, Jake Tapper. Listen to this from today.
Whoa. The fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be out on your way to go, work tomorrow? Age wasn't, the idea that I'm too old. Keep in mind, that soundbite is supposed to be reassuring to those Democratic supporters who have gone wobbly. Many Democratic officials with whom I've spoken are worried that President Biden and his family and his inner circle appear to be in complete denial, not just about whatever might be wrong with him, but the state of his candidacy right now.
Okay, so that is Jake Tapper reading a quote from Biden after playing it, and he can't answer questions much anymore. And the question I want to ask you is a few questions, which I know you can answer, and I will be able to answer. Is, do you think many Democrats are asking Joe Biden to step down because of his condition or because of his poor polling? Because it is not because of his condition. We all know that. He's had this condition for a couple years or so, or more, at least. No. It's because of his polling numbers, his poor polling numbers. That is why many Democrats are calling for him to step down, and many more probably will. Number two, what is your prediction as for whether Joe Biden is going to stay in the race, bow out, or somehow be kicked out? And what would you want if you were a Democrat? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. Lines wide open. Do you think many Democrats are asking Biden to step down because of his condition or because of his polling numbers? And what is your prediction for whether Joe stays in the race or bows out or somehow is kicked out? What's your prediction, I should say? What do you predict is going to happen here? Are they going to kick him out? Is he going to bow out? Or is he going to stay in? What would you want if you were a Democrat? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. There is nobody to blame but the Democrats for not doing this a year ago, 2 years ago, and I'm going to tell you right now, they would be happy with a vegetable. I'm going to play a soundbite of Whoopi Goldberg coming up next, where she literally says the president could poop himself and she doesn't care. I heard yesterday while I'm doing my lawn, it was massive. The lawn was massive after being gone for a week. It was, and it's looking much better. And one of the people at Joe Biden's rally yesterday, said I would vote for him if he was in a casket. She would literally vote for him if he was in a casket. I believe her. And I believe every Democrat will support Joe Biden when he refuses to step down. He will not. He will not step down. And I'm going to be sharing some other information with you throughout the night, including how Joe Biden is the new Woodrow Wilson. And how Woodrow Wilson's wife ran the White House and ran the entire country, was the first female president we've ever had in our history in 1932, I believe it was, or so. No, 1921. She was the first president. She ran everything. And that's what not a Dr. Jill and Hunter are doing. And I'm going to tell you something else. As you know, Hunter is in on all of his meetings now. You know why? Because Hunter is going to report back, not a Dr. Jill, or I should say Nurse Jill. I'm sorry. Nurse Jill literally cannot go into those meetings. People would have a freak out. For some reason, Nurse Jill will not be going in and accompanying him, but it is Hunter. And I think Hunter is reporting back to Nurse Jill, and I think Nurse Jill's running this country. I really do. Remember, Joe, you did such a good job. You answered all the questions. Remember that? Oh, so we got that audio bite, too. We'll be regaling in that tonight, too. They ain't letting this go. And in fact, Miranda Devine, New York Post, wrote a column that I'll share with you a little later as well, talking about how you think Hunter's not a formidable opponent. You better watch out because it's going to get nasty now, and they ain't going nowhere. Gregory in Southlake, you are, let's see, you're on WBAP. Hey, Greg.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Good, Gregory.
I think Joe. I'm a MAGA Republican all the way, so this is like great theater for me to watch because the Democrats are just tearing each other up and imploding over this. But that said, Joe and his family are going to want him sticking into this to the end because they want to retain power. Now, so
that's right. I agree. They're not going anywhere.
He's not going to go voluntarily. If the Democrats are smart, they're probably going to try to get rid of him with the 25th Amendment. That assumes you can get 8 of the cabinet members and
half the cabinet Kamala, and cackling Kamala. Kamala!
Right, and cackling Kamala to say he's incompetent, and then, let's say during the 4-day interim period while she's acting president, he has to take a cognitive test. He's going to fail that. They're going to throw him the hell out. Okay? So then you're going to have this disaster of Kamala Harris, who's dumber than a bag of hammers, going to the Democratic National Committee in the convention.
I love school buses. I love school bus. Do you like a yellow school bus?
Who is she going to pick? Who is she going to pick to, or are they going to temporarily appoint somebody like?
No, they're not.
Gavin Newsom as vice president, and that's going to be the ticket going forward.
Here's the problem:
if we're at the head of the ticket, it's a Trump victory anyway.
Well, possibly. You never know till you know. But I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he's going to turn it over to her. Do you know, in fact, he's actually in internal discussions and communications, he's actually threatening to let her be in charge. He's actually saying, do you understand that if you do this, she'll be in charge? He's literally saying, this incompetent idiot that I picked. And that's his insurance, to quote one of my friends who wrote a blog about this. That's his insurance. Joe Biden's insurance is he picked a moron who's, as you said, dumber than a box of hammers. That's who he picked, and so that's who he's now threatening internally Democrats with. Thank you for your call. I don't think you're right, though. There's no way that Kamala is going to vote for the 25th Amendment and lose that vote because the cabinet is not going to vote because they'll lose their jobs. Anybody that says no and doesn't get him out is going to get their butts handed to them. I don't see that happening. He has to want to leave. And by the way, guess what else has to happen on the 25th Amendment? 2/3, I think it is, or 3/4, I can't remember which one, of the House and Senate have to vote for it too. It's not just the cabinet. There's no way this is taking place. And if the Republicans know what's good for them, they would shut their mouths and stop saying anything, nothing about 25th Amendment or anything. Up next, we're going to talk to Dave in Flower Mound. Plus, you're going to hear the amazing audio of Whoopi saying the president can poop his pants and have it dripping out of the side of his pants, and I will still vote for that man. He can roll across the street because he can't walk. I don't care. I'm voting for him, which matches the Biden voter, the low information Biden voter yesterday at a rally for him that said, I will vote for him in a casket. I believe that. I think that's why he ain't going nowhere, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, your call, as well as that audio from Whoopi and much more, so much more, about the visits from the White House from that physician that's top expert in Parkinson's, and so much more next. Chris Kroc Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.
I don't care if he's pooped his pants. I don't care if he can't put a sentence together. Show me he can't do the job, and then I'll say, okay, maybe it's time to go. Now, he had a bad night the first time that he went out and debated with Kamala Harris. And everybody wanted him to quit then and say, you can't talk to women like this, or you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. He came back, said, you know what, I got it, and gave 4 years. So, yeah, I have poopy days all the time. I step in so much poo you can't even imagine.
Okay, thank you. Here we are. I do believe that he could defecate himself every day, twice a day, 4 times a day, and people would still vote for him. They could see the Depends bulge clearly and him say, yes, I have Depends, but it's just because it is what it is. Or, as that one Biden voter and supporter yesterday at a rally said, I'd vote for him in a casket. I believe that. I don't think he's going anywhere. He will not. And nor should he, because the delegates are his. Out of 4,000 delegates, only about 100 are not his. And he would have to relinquish the delegates. They can't just vote differently. And I don't think he's going to do it. Guess what else, too, real quick? The physician, Dr. Mark Siegel, he's been on this show. He's a contributor on Fox News. He's on staff as a doctor at New York Langone Hospital. He said tonight that he thinks the president doesn't even know his condition is this bad. He's not aware it's this bad at all, and that his wife and son are the ones pimping him out. And I think that's the case, and they're not going to they love this power. Nurse Jill loves this power. She loves it. Okay, let's go to Dave in Flower Mound as I'm asking you 3 questions. Do you think many Democrats are asking Biden to step down because of his condition or his poor polling? I believe it's clearly the polling, not his condition. And what's your prediction for whether Joe stays in the race, bows out, or somehow is kicked out? And what would you want if you were a Democrat? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Chime in right now. We got 3 lines open, 800-288-9227. Dave in Flower Mound. Hello, you're on WBAP.
Hey, Chris. Once again, I agree with pretty much everything you're saying tonight. And
Thanks.
I think the only reason why they want him is because of the polling's dropping so low. That's why they want him out. I don't think there's any way they want him to go to, because I'm a firm believer that he's really not even running the country right now. It's Obama.
He's not.
Who else are going to get in there that's going to let Obama run the country? And third, how are they going to bypass Kamala Harris, because they know she cannot run the country and she can't beat Trump. So what are they going to do with her?
I think the Republicans are saying that if Biden relinquishes or says he will not run, he'll step down. Then the day he says that, Cackling Kamala needs to step in and become the president, because that means he's not even capable. And Cackling Kamala stepping in would then ensure her destruction, because she'd be everywhere, and she cannot be anywhere without embarrassing herself. So
exactly. So what do you do with her? So, and again, I think I'm with you too. Jill loves this power. she loves being able to tell the country what to do. And she may be Obama's puppet that's telling Joe what to do.
No. Well, I can tell you this. I read up a lot today on many things, including Hunter as well, and Nurse Jill. Hunter, as you know, is going in all these meetings now, some of which could be classified, and he has a lot. He's a lot more brilliant. I'm going to share that coming up next at 8:30. A column from Miranda Devine. She's saying, do not underestimate Hunter because he's in on everything, and he has so much to gain and so much to lose if he doesn't. His dad doesn't win, and he's going to fight like hell, and he's going to undermine everything. He hates former President Hussein Obama and Mrs. Hussein Obama. He hates them.
Oh, really?
As evidenced in his laptop. There's tons of communications with all of it evidence. So he hates them. He won't let them do anything to him. And this is it. This is doomsday. They are not leaving. And Nurse Jill and Hunter are in charge. Dave, I appreciate your great call. Mike and Plano, you're on. Let's see, you're on. Welcome to WBAP. What do you got?
I appreciate your time, but I really think that at the end of the day, the Democratic majority is.
Can you repeat that? You were cutting up. Go ahead.
I think that the Democrats are going to stick with where they think the majority is, and I think that anything that they can kind of pull together and go against Trump on, they're going to. And recently I've seen stuff circulating in social media regarding Project 2025, and I think that regardless of the politician you put in place, you'll gain voters just from people that oppose a speculated project, which I don't know a whole lot about.
Trump doesn't know anything about it. He says, I have no idea, but it doesn't matter. They're going to use anything they can. My friend Eric Erickson, who's a Mr. Politico type, the wild thing is that Biden can still win this thing, and we have to realize that.
No, you're absolutely right. I think there's enough hate for Trump out there that they will vote for Biden. He's still in place.
A man in a vegetative state can beat Trump if they put lipstick on a pig. Once they realize he will not step aside, then they'll coalesce around him. And
100%.
Many people don't realize this. Thanks for your call, by the way, Mike and Plano. We've got lines wide open for you now at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Many people may not know that, and maybe you've heard by now, but that $200 million war chest cannot be put together in a few months, and it cannot go to anybody except Cackling Kamala. So what that means is she is going to get it, and if she doesn't, by the way, you've got like the head of the Congressional Black Caucus in Michigan saying it's complete no-go if you leapfrog a minority woman. Number two, Trump has laid low, and it is very smart. I'm going to tell you why I think it's smart that Trump is laying low, and I'm also going to play you an unbelievable polling statistic from fake news CNN that has everybody losing their minds that wants Joe Biden to win, including CNN. That is next. Your call as well at 800-288-WBAP. 800-288-9227. I also want to segue coming up next into, is it Parkinson's disease? What do you think it is, if it's Parkinson's, and why? Or is it something else you think maybe? We got a lot of nurses, a lot of doctors, a lot of people that work in healthcare. 800-288-WBAP. That's next.
Right now, Donald Trump leads in an aggregate of national polls by about 3 percentage points. If you go back 4 years ago at this point, Joe Biden was ahead by 9 points. This right now don't look anything like what we saw 4 years ago at this point. I then decided to take it a step further. What was Biden's worst 2020 polling position? He was ahead by 4 points, which basically matched what he ended up beating Donald Trump by in the national popular vote. So this 3-point advantage for Donald Trump is Donald Trump's best position versus Joe Biden, whether you include the polls this year or you include the polls last cycle. The idea that the polls underestimated Joe Biden last time around, simply put, does not hold any water.
To repeat, that is a CNN poll quote, an unbelievable polling stat from CNN. One of my buddies writes on his blog, Eric Erickson. Biden's in his worst poll position ever against Trump. He is the first Democrat to trail in national July polls since 2000. Okay, and again, this does not mean a vegetable like Joe Biden could possibly still win. And I'll still put out the question, do you think many Democrats are asking Biden to step down because of his condition or his poor polling? Jerry Nadler, the human weeble wobble, is the highest profile Democrat that I've seen to come out and say it's time to go. He didn't do it publicly, but he did it privately. Now, one of the things I want to get into with you is this, okay? I have a dear mentor who I've mentioned on and off for years on this show, who I also have mentioned that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And nothing breaks my heart more than that. And his wife, his family, all the wonderful people who know this wonderful man feel the same way. And so I know that you are just like me. You know people. Maybe your parents have been diagnosed with Parkinson's or dementia. Maybe you are a healthcare provider. Maybe you're a nurse like Nurse Jill. Maybe you are a home health aide. Maybe you are somebody who works at an elderly facility that takes care of elderly people. But tell me, when you look at what you've seen the president and his condition getting worse and worse over the years, what do you see? Do you think the president has Parkinson's disease? And if not, do you think it's something else? For example, dementia. And today, for the first time, I also heard one of the many medical experts on Fox News and other stories I read throughout the day, as you would imagine, tons of them, that age-related dementia, it's either Parkinson's or age-related dementia. And I looked up here some of the symptoms of dementia to share with you, but I want to open it up right now, too, for what you think it is. Do you think the president has Parkinson's disease? And if not, do you think it's something else? Or dare I say, is he fine? He's fine. Everything's great. He's fine. Don't worry about it. He just had a cold, even though he did 3 or 4 major political events, including getting up close to people, passing his alleged cold on to all sorts of people. So do you think the president has Parkinson's disease? And if not, do you think it's something else, or is he fine? And would any kind of neurological disease like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's be a disqualifier for you in the presidency? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Chime in right now. Lines wide open, 800-288-9227. Of course, any kind of neurological disease like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's would be a disqualifier. The best thing to do would be to come forward, say, I have it, and we are making arrangements to transition. And we're working with the party to find appropriate leaders. But you're dealing with the Bidens, and pride and power are more important than anything. So many things that I've heard today about, look, he can't go out and sell a book. He can't do a speaking tour after this. Nobody wants to see a man who's infirmed giving speeches when he should be resting and living out the last several years of his life, hopefully in peace. But unfortunately, what we have is a president who is able to feel like he's doing something, but the problem is he's not. He doesn't realize it. And then you have Nurse Jill and Hunter pimping him out there for their own personal satisfaction. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Well, dementia and age-related dementia. What are the signs and symptoms of dementia? Experiencing memory loss, poor judgment, and confusion. He definitely has memory loss and confusion. Difficulty speaking, understanding, and expressing thoughts. That's absolutely what we see in him. Wandering and getting lost in a familiar neighborhood. Well, how about wandering and getting lost on stage? Did you see from Axios today? The president gets a literal picture of how to walk to the podium. It shows you standing backstage and what it'll look like in the 10, 20 feet to walk from backstage, come towards the corner of the, where the curtain opens, and then walk how it's right there. They show him pictures. I mean, that's you need to see a picture of how to walk to the podium. You can't figure out you're backstage and which way is the podium. Okay, you don't have to know anything. Just which way is it? Where is it? In the middle? Okay, thanks. Having note cards, cue cards, being unable to say things without looking down at your note cards, which we've seen extensively. But let me continue on. So experiencing memory loss and confusion, difficulty speaking, understanding, and expressing thoughts, wandering, getting lost, repeating questions. Well, he has repeated stories 2 times with the same small group of senators and congressmen and congresswomen behind the scenes at some meetings. We read that in that 12-page Wall Street Journal piece that was extensively researched. That was the harbinger of this. Well, we've all seen the man falling apart for some time now. But taking longer to complete normal daily tasks. Well, how about taking longer to shake a hand, or taking longer to walk, or, his reactions as he's sitting there and talking, he's stiff. Hallucinating. This is what's scary. Hallucinating, experiencing delusions or paranoia. That's scary to think that somebody in charge of us could be hallucinating. Acting impulsively, losing balance, and problems with movement. That is literally this man. He's now being flanked as he walks from Marine One to the White House, as we've seen. They got to hide him, cover him up. He's got the big boy. He's got the little boy stairs. Little boy stairs. He doesn't take the big boy stairs anymore into Air Force One. And then what are the symptoms of dementia? Look at this. Types of dementia. I didn't know this. Types of dementia are Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. I did not know that. And what he may have is, according to Dr. What's his name? I've mentioned him from Fox News. Dr. Mark Siegel at New York Langone, he says he thinks it's age-related dementia. There's something called late. Another form of dementia known as late. It has to do with developing dementia with age-related dementia. So maybe he has something like that. And the Parkinson's expert that came in from Walter Reed Medical Center, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, he and two others met at the White House residence on January 17th, including with the president's physician. Dr. O'Connor was also, he's the president's physician. He greeted the physician, the expert from Walter Reed, who is Dr. Kevin Kennard. Dr. Kevin Kennard, Parkinson's disease specialist. He's an authority on Parkinson's who's worked at Walter Reed for 20 years, says the New York Post. Since 2012, he's been the neurology specialist supporting the White House medical unit. So look, Parkinson's expert doesn't also mean you couldn't be a dementia expert. Apparently, I didn't know that Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. It is highly probable the meeting was about the commander-in-chief, said Ronnie Jackson. Ronnie was the White House physician for former President Hussein Obama, George Bush, and, of course, Donald Trump. So Ronnie Jackson says, I believe Hunter and Nurse Jill Biden have led to the cover-up. Kevin O'Connor, the president's physician, is like a son to Nurse Jill. She loves him. So there's also a question about whether or not the White House doctor is compromised. I don't know if you heard about that. I'm going to be sharing that information with you next. But here's a real scary thought. Hunter Biden, as you know, is in all these meetings now, right? He's in all these meetings in the Oval Office with the president and his cabinet. Miranda Devine from the New York Post wrote a column, and I heard her yesterday on, I think it was Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo. That's how she talks. Anyway, she had, I believe, Miranda Devine on yesterday, and she says Hunter is very dangerous, very shrewd, and very intelligent, and he plays dirty. So I'm going to share what she shares in her column today about why you better watch out now that Hunter is in the thick of everything with Joe and Nurse Jill. So I want to ask you coming up next, who do you think is calling the shots? Who are the ones really in charge? And who's relaying what's happening in the Oval Office out there to the people that are really controlling these shots here? And do you trust Hunter and Nurse Jill Biden to run our country for the next 6 months? All that's coming up next. Chris Kroc Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3, 800-288-9227 is our number.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. Look, George, think of it this way. You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the world is at an inflection point.
Blah, blah, blah. I did the goodest job. Did you hear that? The goodest job. Then today you have John Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre back-to-back talking about how Joe is going to have a big boy press conference. The freaking president of the United States is going to have a, quote, big boy press conference.
After that, the president will hold a press conference. I guess a big boy press conference is what we're calling it, and take some questions from y'all.
This week, President Biden will speak to national labor leaders of AFL-CIO, host the NATO summit to show the unprecedented strength of our alliance, hold a press conference, a big boy press conference, according to Justin Sink from Bloomberg.
A big boy press conference. Look, he ain't leaving, and the sooner people realize that, then the better. By the way, it's such a good thing for us. You can't lie. I mean, the fact that he is doing this and not stopping is incredible. Trump is so smart. He did do an interview earlier tonight. We'll be cutting it up for you a little later and such. He did do an interview with Hannity earlier this evening, but he's been quiet. And he's so freaking smart. Let Joe Biden hang himself. He pretty much, about 3/4 let Joe Biden hang himself at the debate. And now he is really letting him hang himself. And I do seriously hope and pray that Trump did not get personal at all tonight and just did well, we're just watching. Leave it go. Let it for the American. Don't attack him. Don't criticize him on his age and his dementia. Don't bring it up. Just say, well, I'll let him do it. He's handling it. He's doing a great job. So I'll just keep letting him talk for himself. He doesn't need me to say any diagnosis. He is destroying himself and his pride. Let me share this. If you think that because Hunter Biden is involved, this means that it's going to be a disaster, you are wrong, according to New York Post columnist Miranda Devine. And let me tell you something. 90% of what she does, I'm just like, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't do anything for me. I don't talk about what she says most of the time because I'm like, whatever. It's the same crap, a different day from her. This is not. Here's what she says. She said, she's the one who discovered the laptop and all, wrote the book, The Laptop, and all. She says, you had better not underestimate the first son, Hunter. And when he was in Camp David preparing for the debate, Hunter was there. Hunter is acting as a gatekeeper. He's helping to write speeches for Joe. He has been sitting in on Joe's meeting with senior staffs. Quote, what the hell is happening? A senior White House staff member told NBC News about how Hunter's in on all this. She said people are demanding to know, too, intelligence committee members, is Hunter receiving classified information? Any official meetings and calls with Hunter Biden, they want to know if he's participating in what capacity. The Republicans and the Intelligence Committee are now demanding to know. But listen, she says that Hunter Biden is highly intelligent, manipulative, methodical, always out for his own ends. Now more than ever, he depends on his father. That depends on his father maintaining his power. I will continue, but I want to ask you this right now. Chime in 800-288-WBAP. Do you believe, who do you believe is calling the shots at the White House? Do you believe it's Hunter? I'm going to tell you what I think here in a sec, but do you believe it's Hunter or somebody else? I believe Hunter is relaying everything that's going on in those meetings to Nurse Jill. And I believe Hunter and Nurse Jill are running this country. That's what I believe is really going on. And I'm going to tell you about Woodrow Wilson and his wife, Edith. Did you know about that? The last year and a half of his administration, Edith was the president. She was the first woman president in the suffragette moment. It was an ultimate experience, a victory. But right now, it's Hunter relaying to Nurse Jill Biden, and I think those two are running the White House, and I'm not kidding you. And it's just like what happened with Woodrow Wilson, and I will share the details from PBS, History Channel, and Smithsonian. It's incredibly mirror image of what's happening right now. Here's my questions. Who do you believe is calling the shots at the White House right now? Who are the ones really in charge? And who's relaying what's happening out there to him, Joe, in his bubble? I do believe he's in a bubble. And do you trust Hunter and Nurse Joe Biden to run our country for the next 6 months? Because that's what's happening in my eyes. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Continuing on, Miranda Devine says, he's highly intelligent, manipulative, methodical, always out for his own ends, more than ever depending on his father maintaining power. It's important for him to have that power. Knowing them on a familial level, they will have to be dragged out of the White House. One former friend of the Bidens told Miranda Devine, I think the Bidens are going to fight all the way into the ground, said another, and I do too. It'll be just like, I swear to you, it's going to be just like you trying to take away the keys from your dad when he's got Alzheimer's or dementia, and him screaming at you and fighting you and physically refusing and getting nasty physically with you, maybe hitting you or clawing at you, refusing to let you have his keys, and you will have to take the car from the driveway and have it towed away or quote unquote steal it, or you're going to have to take the battery out and go, Dad, I don't know why it's not working. I'm so sorry. That kind of stuff. It's going to be like an old man getting his keys yanked from him physically from his son or daughter or both, his whole family with an intervention. That's how bad this is going to be, but it ain't going to come from the families. I got more from her coming up next, and I'm going to share the story of Woodrow and Mrs. Wilson, Edith Wilson, and how Joe Biden is the new Woodrow Wilson, and there's no question about it. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. How Joe is the new Woodrow Wilson. Next, plus your call at 800-288-WBAP. More audio as well. How Joe Biden said, yes, I've been tested. I got a COVID test instead of getting Alzheimer's or dementia test. 800-288-WBAP. That's next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.